Hi there, I'm Coach Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And in this video, we're going to be talking to you about your ex looks happy without you, but they're probably not.
Maybe not.
Well, you know how people are. They really want to look like they are doing so great without you. And on social media, now we have social media that everybody is posting things. But you always have to keep in mind that social media is really just a highlight reel. Mm-hmm. People are only posting the really fun, exciting, and interesting things that they're doing, the best moments of their life. They're not posting, I've been late to work 3 times this week, or my car broke down and I need a new one, but I can't afford it.
Sometimes they are, but they're not getting as many views.
But you know, there are certain social media sites that people are a lot more likely to post those highlights.
And things are altered, you know.
They got media, filters on.
Yeah, social media could be a highlight reel.
Mm-hmm. They're showing what they want people to see. It's a curated version of how their life is, not the actual life. You know, it's not them crying late at night on their, with their pillow or getting drunk and pooping on their friend's car.
Oh my gosh.
It happens.
I guess so.
Not to me.
No, okay. But no, this is important to remember, because a lot of times we are just seeing an image and we try to come up with a lot of conclusions. In a breakup, we are feeling out of control. Mm-hmm. So if we are able to make up stories based off a picture that we see on social media, our mind will do it to try to protect us, to give us some semblance of, okay, I know what's going on here. I can understand things better. But the reality is we have no idea what is actually going on in their life, and a picture on social media isn't a good indicator of how they're doing.
Yeah, that wine glass and the reflection of the other wine glass and the knee. Lots of times people put fake stuff like that just to get you upset, just to get you jealous. So it's really a false illusion of what's going on. There may be some slight truths to it, and there might be some truths to what's currently going on, but it doesn't even mean that it's going to stay great and amazing like they're trying to project it.
Right. And we talk often about the grief of a breakup and how even if your ex is going through relief right now, and maybe they are doing things that they haven't in a long time, or traveling, or, doing things that they can single and enjoying it, right? Grief catches up to everyone. There is still grief in a breakup, even for the person who is doing the dumping. And it's something that you can't escape. It's something that can be suppressed. It's something that, can be compartmentalized, but it's something that we all experience just as human beings who attach and then are going through separation and distancing from someone that we care about. So those things are still present. Sometimes you can hear them talk to friends and family, talking about how great their life is and how great things are going. You have to remember, just like on social media, sometimes people aren't as vulnerable to the people around them with what's actually happening.
That's
and
true.
With what's actually plaguing them. They may also know that the people that they're talking to will talk to you, or things will get back to you. So that could be also a very curated message that's being sent to friends and family. So just remember those things. We're not here to say whether they're doing amazing or they're doing miserable without you, but we're here to give you more of the reality of there's a lot of uncertainty with that. They could be in relief. There could be moments where they really are missing you. There could be moments of doubt. Humans are complicated. We have a lot of complex emotions when we're going through life changes.
Yeah, they're just showing some brief moments throughout a day, not exactly how they're feeling all day, every day. So just because they look happy online doesn't mean they actually are. It just might be a snapshot of a moment.
Right. And like I had said before, our brains like to fill in the gaps, right? Our brain does not like to leave things ambivalent or with a question mark. We want to feel like we know what's going on, like we're in the loop and we're in control. So we like to make up stories about how our ex is doing or what they might be doing that may not be true. So just remember that piece.
And we have those huge leaps in logic. We post, or we see one little post, and boy, our mind can go wild. And I hear it all the time in the calls. They tell me about one little post that they saw from their ex, and it makes you crazy.
Yeah, they'll be like, yeah, my ex is married now. I'm like, what? How do you know? Well, I saw a pinky finger on their story of someone else, and I think it was a man pinky. Oh, okay. So be careful of doing that. I know that our brains do this to try to protect ourselves, but really the goal is to be more comfortable with uncertainty, more comfortable with maybe yes, maybe no, but we're going to be okay no matter what.
Yeah.
That's the goal. And Margaret used to talk about that we tend to imagine our exes riding off into the sunset. We think that they are living their best life because we try to almost expose our brain to like the worst case scenario possible, so that if it actually happens, then we've already experienced it in our mind and we're not caught off guard. But what happens with that is that we're imagining scenarios that aren't happening, and we're just hurting ourselves with our own imagination and our own mind.
Absolutely.
So be careful of the stories that you tell yourself and what you think is going on in your ex's life. Now, that new person might look perfect and amazing on the surface, but very unlikely that they are perfect.
Even if they present as perfect for maybe those first 4 or 5 months, they're the best that they can, people start to see the little things that the other does that's irritating or annoying. Oh, they're late all the time, or they always say this catchphrase and it annoys them.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be.
Yeah. And they say it's even the person who is dating the most beautiful person in the world or the most perfect person in the world, at some point will become annoyed with them. At some point will become frustrated with them. At some point that whatever that person brings is going to feel more like every day and become a little bit more mundane. That's just part of being human. That's part of becoming attached to someone and building that familiarity. Is there's no longer this, oh my gosh, this is the perfect magical person. There's the reality of this person farts too. This person has morning breath too. And that's just life. There's issues that come up.
Absolutely. But it's hard to really keep that perspective when you're struggling and you miss them so much, because you're just convinced that your ex is happy. You're just so convinced because you saw a few posts that this new person is amazing. And, your ex is probably feeling relief from that breakup. They were arguing all the time with you, or they were frustrated all the time with you. And so now, in a sense, they are feeling relief, and they're going to look happier when they're relieved and that stress is gone from their life. But oftentimes that relief is temporary. The problem may be temporary gone, but a loss can take its place over time. They're likely going to start going out a lot. They're likely going to start doing all kinds of things that you've never seen them do before. They're going out partying, they're doing this, they're doing that. You're like, that's not like them at all. I hear that all the time. They're doing all these things that they would never acted like. This is normal. This is what people often do. They're trying to figure out their identity again, like a single version of them. And for some people that have never individuated before and never done those things before, they're like exploring the world doing these new things. So they go out, they're more socially active, they're posting all these things, and they look like they're happy and they're going to be happy forever, but it doesn't mean it's permanent. It's this relief phase and this stage, but it can change to the place where they do really start to miss you again.
Right. And I just want to talk about that a little bit. Is earlier we were talking about winning the breakup, and sometimes there can be this competitiveness of how good really is your ex doing after the breakup. And what does that say about
you?
Yeah. We feel like we want to win. We want to be better than our ex. We want to be in a better position. We want to be better off and all these things. And your ex might be feeling that too. They might be feeling the sense of, okay, I'm separating from somebody that I really love and care about. I'm feeling really broken inside. And sometimes our ego, we tend to build this like security fort around us to make ourselves feel okay again. And sometimes that can be projecting this positive image that's not really happening.
Yeah.
So remember that people sometimes will post a lot or portray themselves in a way almost as a shield to hide what's really going on. We don't know what's really going on, but sometimes they will do that. They'll try to build this identity. They're trying to figure out who they are. They're trying to figure out what's going on. They want to get the sense of, I'm doing okay, I promise. I don't need you. I'm fine. I'm independent.
Or maybe they're like bitter. right? They could
Could
be
be that
bitter,
too.
like, oh, because things didn't play out the way they wanted it to. So they're like, oh, I want to rub it in your face that I'm doing so good without you. Right?
Yeah. So there's many possibilities as to why an ex would be flaunting things on social media as if they're totally happy and unbothered and totally fine.
And one of the other things that I see sometimes is like when they're struggling, it's like they're trying to prove it to themselves that they're doing good, even though they're not. They're trying to force themselves to like believe I'm doing better off without this person and my life is better without this person. And so it's kind of like they're going through this, all these different emotions, waves of emotion. It's like they're trying to create an internal anchor of I'm doing good in this sea of difficult emotions, right? If you can imagine that, like they're struggling emotionally, they're going through all these different waves of sadness, anger, hurt, afraid. Then they're like, I'm happy and I'm better off without this person. So they're trying to find this internal anchor because they're kind of all over the place. So I think that's part of it too, where it's like if I present to the world that I'm doing great, that everybody's going to believe it and I'm going to believe it.
Yeah. Yep.
You know?
And it could be hard because then you start to believe it, and seeing that, it really hurts. It really breaks your heart to think, what if they are doing okay? What if they are unbothered? What if it was like water off a duck's back? You know, what did this relationship really mean to them if that's the case?
Yeah.
And the first place my mind goes to is that song by The Script, Break Even, where it talks about when a heart breaks, it doesn't break even, meaning that, you know, for one person, it can be a lot more difficult than for the other. And the lyrics in the song explain that in many different metaphorical and creative ways, because the script is just brilliant, especially when it comes to breakup music. But they talk about how, you know, you're grieving in this breakup and it can seem like the other person's doing just fine or even celebrating or unbothered. And that part can be painful because it can be hard to carry the weight of a breakup seemingly alone.
Yeah. You're like, I'm hurting, I'm devastated, and they're happy. It's like, what? This doesn't feel fair at all. We were just talking earlier about one of our clients that she was hurting so bad, and this guy is acting like, you know, he's okay with things, and she's doubting that he's experiencing any of that. And it's like, she's like saying to me, at this point, I don't even know if I want him back. I just want him to hurt too.
Yeah.
And I understand that. I don't blame her for feeling like that too.
Yeah, because there's that thought of, well, if they're hurting too, then it validates this relationship. Then this relationship did mean something enough for it to hurt when it's gone. So, you know, we understand that it can be something really tough to see that. Try to not tell yourself so many stories about what could be happening on their end. Remember that people are really complex. Remember there's a lot of things that we don't know, and that's okay. Be willing to sit with that uncertainty. You know, sometimes we do hear exes, you know, say things to you like, oh my gosh, I've thought about you this whole time, or oh my gosh, it was really hard for me too. It was really hard for me to not reach out to you. So we do hear these things on that side.
All the time.
I'm sure if you reflect back on some of your breakups, even if you have done the dumping, it's hard still. You know, you're attached to that person. If you think about it, there's probably things that you miss about exes, and I think that's part of being human. That's part of being in unique connections with people and unique kind of interactions. There's going to be specific things about people that can't be replaced. So remember that things are complex.
And, you know, I want to add to that point about your ex telling you all these things. You'll be shocked. You got to remember that, you know, you're watching all these videos trying to stick to a strategy, stick to a plan to reattract them. They're like willy-nilly in the way that they come back. They're not thinking about strategy so much, about how to come back and to repair things with you. That's why they do these direct approaches. So a lot of times they aren't thinking those things through, whereas you are like following the plan. Like we say, don't come on too strong. So that's why I say, like, if you stay quiet, a lot of times your ex is going to tell you, I missed you so much. I thought about you all the time. How was your grandma? I was worried about her all the time. I was looking to see if you were posting to see what happened with her surgery. They start to say all of these things if you let them. If you don't let them, they're not going to tell you. If you interrupt them or, you know, talk over them because you're so anxious, it's not going to allow it to happen. But if you sit with it, they will tell you a lot.
Yeah. Yep. So let the process be its process. Be okay with that uncertainty and really be thinking about yourself. I think sometimes in a breakup we can be so concerned with what our ex is doing that we totally lose track of what am I doing? Am I happy with what I'm doing? How's my day going? So
Yeah.
we want to bring it also back to you because we know that there are no guarantees if your ex is going to come back to you or not. They could go through all of the processes that we're talking about. They could go through the relief stage. They could be grieving. They could be doubting their decision. They could reconsider things. They could even be reaching out to you, but not reach that point of actually wanting to repair things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a reality. So we have to be okay with whatever outcome happens and thinking about how can we be there for ourselves? How can we put the focus back on our experience and, be concerned with if we're being present with what's happening in our life. A lot of times we compare to what our imagination is making up about our ex's life rather than thinking, do I enjoy this moment and am I enjoying what's happening?
Yeah. And ultimately, we want you to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And we want you to get to a place where you're happy again. Just because your ex may be showing things here or there that appears like life is grand, it does not mean that is the case. And we hear about it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We see examples of this all the time. Social media is only giving you those curated moments that they want you to see.
Mm-hmm.
That is not necessarily accurate for how they're truly feeling or how they're truly doing, any more than if you started posting a handful of moments about how great you're doing, even if you're miserable all the time, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So it works both ways. So your goal is to process the breakup, get to a great place, think about what you want to learn from this experience, how you can grow, how you can become more emotionally centered, how you can heal those attachment issues, and how you want to handle things if they come back and want to give things another chance.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yep.
All right. So hopefully this one's been helpful to you. If you'd like to get our help personally, you can go to my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Zoom calls. Coach Victoria is also available for Zoom calls.
I'm here whenever you'd like to chat.
Just click on her name on the top of the website to schedule with her. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon.